All right, friends, as prefaced, a fine twin billing on episode 50 of the Spicer Speaking podcast. I think regarding my first guest, I think it was Dan Aykroyd that bestowed upon John Belushi the title of America's Guest. However, for my first guest this week, he may well be able to borrow that moniker. He's probably forgotten more golf trips than I'll ever go on. Joining us this week with a fresh title as managing editor now of NBC's Golf Pass, which you can find at golfpass.com. I'm going to call him Jason Deegan, but when you read his articles, he goes by Jason Scott Deegan. Do we need to include the Scott?
Call me JD, call me Jason. My high school friends call me Deegs. It's all good, man.
All right, but you've gone with the byline for a long time as Jason Scott Deegan.
Yeah. I just feel like, there's a few famous authors out there with three-syllable names. So I figured I'd try and join that crowd, the Edgar Allan Poes of the world.
Although your golf writings aren't nearly as dark. Although I don't know if Edgar Allan Poe ever wrote about golf. I kind of wish he did. Speaking of your longtime writings, let's harken back, if but for a minute, Jason, to the Michigander roots. Don't know how your bracket is doing as we are chatting during March Madness, but for the University of Michigan, which you used to cover, both the men and the women in the respective Sweet 16s. Did you pick both of those correctly?
I definitely would have picked the women if I filled out a bracket because they're legit. Man, those were the glory days. I was young, naive journalist, right out of college, doing the grind, working every Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. I loved covering that team. I covered the women extensively, but the men I didn't pick in my bracket. They were just too up and down this year, too inconsistent, never knew what you were going to get. So I'm thrilled that they are where they're at, because nobody expected it.
But you did pick St. Peter's.
Did not get that one either. We do a family pool every year, and I'm in last place. I'm losing to a 19-year-old son who doesn't watch basketball, a 17-year-old daughter who doesn't watch basketball, and a wife who doesn't watch basketball. So throw my bracket in the toilet.
You're going to find some bracketeering empathy in my respective family pool, also in last place. Losing to my girlfriend, my mom, sister-in-law, my 11-year-old nephew, and so forth. So I haven't crumpled it up yet and thrown it away. I think I might as well. So for those that have read a lot of Jason's work over the years, you know that he's a sharp cookie. For those like myself that have had the pleasure of going on golf trips with him, going on long car rides, from course to course, spending time together, that in person, he's a very smart guy. So smart, in fact, that I tried to stump him on our most recent trip together some months back in Yonder, New Mexico, which I talked about on this program whenever that trip was. It's a little bit of a blur now. And when you covered, I'm going to ask you this, but I have a double quiz follow-up. When you covered University of Michigan football, Tom Brady was the quarterback. Is that right?
Yeah, Tom Brady, Brian Greasy years, or late 90s.
Okay. And I quizzed you who was the Minnesota-born backup to Tom Brady that was like the greatest recruit ever out of the state of Minnesota. And I think he threw like 4 passes in his Michigan career. And you got that answer right. Can you get it for me again?
Yeah, of course. Jason Kapsner.
Okay.
That was my life back in the day. You had to know every person on the roster. You had to know what their career outlook was, what their stats were, if they went to the bar the night before, all of that good stuff to try and be a good beat reporter.
So I'm going to double down on that quiz from a few months back. Do you know what Jason Kapsner does now? And I'll give you a hint. He wasn't in the USFL draft.
Man, I don't know. A lot of those guys end up, selling insurance or real estate. I don't know.
I mean, you're actually not that far off. He founded something in Minneapolis called the Bluebird Group. I had to go back and totally look this up myself. I've had no idea. In the retail services realm. Seems like he's done well for himself. There's a picture of him as the founder on his website. Seems like there's a lot of employees. So I guess that Michigan education, although he didn't throw a lot of passes, probably served him somewhat well.
Yeah, I'm sure Ann Arbor treated him well. You know, when you're a football player, you're a semi-god. When you head out of town, or, you know, people love and respect what you do. And yeah, like you say, that Michigan degree goes a long way for the next 40 years after you're off campus. So I'm sure he's doing well, better than us as a golf writers.
Well, not necessarily. And although you are, of course, still a golf writer, your title now, as of, I believe, still fresh from just last month. I don't know if Jason Deegan has gone to the dark side, as his title is now managing editor of NBC's Golf Pass. Again, that's a fresh title, friends. Tell me about getting that promotion. Can we say that, I assume?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of a lifelong career goal, is when you try to climb the mountain for 20 plus years. I've been in this industry since 1999. Been writing about sports and golf since 1995. So I just feel like it's a culmination of, you know, 3 decades of hard work, a little bit of luck along the way, but very excited for this new part of my career. I'll probably be on the road a little bit less, but it's always great to be part of a really strong team, and that's what we have at Golf Pass. We're doing really good things in terms of video content and the written content as well.
Yeah, from that content, of course, you've got a lot of travel, golf instruction. We've got feature articles from Jason. We've got the fitness element with Don Saladino, former guest of the Spicer Speaking podcast. He's a big Perform Better guy, as you may recall, and all manner of different tentacles, including, I want to ask you about the Golfer's Choice List. This debuted at the onset of the year. Newer feature of Golf Pass, Jason?
Yeah, we've been doing the Golfer's Choice many years now, and it's really popular. You know, every January we release quote unquote best of lists based on all the reviews we get throughout the year. And with the pandemic golf boom, you know, we had more reviews than ever before, more than 300,000.
Wow.
We categorize all those, we crunch the data, and then we come out with top 50 US courses. And then we come up with state by state lists, as well as lists for subcategories like value, friendliest staff, best layout. So a lot of different ways to analyze the golf course.
300,000 in 2021 alone.
Yeah. Yeah, we went over 1 million probably 2-3 years ago, and with the boom, we're heading towards 2 million this year. So 2 million total. So you know, every year we're seeing more reviews, and we're just growing in popularity. That's great to see.
I'm always curious when I go on Golf Pass, golfpass.com, whether to read one of your articles or maybe something from your colleague, Tim Gavrich. The reader reviews, I mean, it's like it can be a comment on an article sometimes, or like a comment on a controversial Facebook post or whatever you will. You can sometimes take that with a proverbial grain of salt. Like, who's it coming from? Do they have some kind of beef with the course? Do they work at a golf course? Are those things that you take into consideration when assessing these hundreds of thousands of reader reviews?
Yeah, we have a multi checks and balances system where every review is kind of curated for, or background checked, who the user is. If they're doing multiple kind of spraying reviews over again on the same golf course, you can monitor that. So, you know, there are a few probably that slip through the cracks, but by and large, we're definitely keeping an eye on that sort of stuff. And if, you know, people with an agenda are seeding reviews, we're weeding those out.
As that is such a big facet of the site, do you read most of them, or do you come across most of them, especially if it's a course that you're writing about?
We have a third-party company that does the first stage of reviews. I mean, this is a very serious business, because you think of things like TripAdvisor and Yelp. There's a lot of lawyers involved in terms of rules for having these types of services. So you have to follow certain laws and rules and restrictions in terms of what's published and what isn't. So we have to follow those rules where, we have a third party monitor, and then anything that gets flagged as suspicious, we have to go in and kind of do a little bit more background digging to figure out, hey, should we publish this, or hey, should we throw this in the garbage?
Fascinating stuff, man. Really pulling back the curtain there. I mean, it's good to know. I trust that your readers will appreciate that not just anybody can throw something on there and it's automatically published or has bearing on how a course is represented. Do you find yourself surprised sometimes by how these reviews reflect maybe on an underdog course, or perhaps a far more heralded course that has a collection of negative reviews?
I feel like our system, the reason our rankings are vastly different from any other top 50 or top 100 list is because of what you're talking about. I think our list is a list of expectation, where if you pay $500 to play Pebble Beach, it better be the best golf experience of your life. But if you pay $50 for your local muni and they go above and beyond and have great service, both of those reviews can be 5 stars, but it's all based on what you paid and what your expectation was. So in that case, both 5-star reviews make sense.
Friends, episode 50 of the Spicer Speaking podcast. Jason Scott Deegan, managing editor at NBC's Golf Pass, is my guest. You can find his work at golfpass.com. You can also follow Jason on Twitter at World Golfer, an apt handle. Although you said that you're going to be traveling a little bit less, man, in your new title, you've been to what, dozens of countries?
Yeah, I've tried to keep track once things getting out of control, and I started realizing, wow, I should kind of figure this all out. So by my best estimation, I've played over 1,000 courses in 20 countries. That's dating 23 years. So I'm starting to, put the mileage on.
I know that you've got an impressive collection of golf balls to track those travels over the years. How many balls do you have in your collection?
Yeah, so the golf ball collection is a little out of control. It's spread 3 different places in the house. There's a wall of balls that's gotten a little bit of social media fame that holds about 600. And I have a lamp in my living room that holds probably another 200. It's got a nice frame so you can see the golf balls inside the lamp. And then I've got I used to live in Michigan, so I've got a Michigan-shaped golf ball rack as well that probably has another 100 on it.
Have you been to a course that did not have their own stamped golf ball, and you desperately tried to get one or find one or inquire with the pro shop staff or whomever the host was in an effort to get it?
Yeah, I just played a private club in San Francisco last fall, and they were in the midst of changing their logo. So they didn't have a logo ball. And I was like, oh man, this ruins my day. I mean, I'm more worried about getting the logo ball than I am about breaking 90. So it's definitely an obsessive pursuit.
Yeah, we should mention, if I didn't already, that, of course, Spicer Speaking, SoCal based, Jason Deegan, NorCal based. What's your preference? Northern California golf or Southern California golf?
Oh man.
That's big question, broad question.
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is probably NorCal's a little better in terms of variety and course wise, but SoCal has the weather. So maybe your conditioning's a little better, your season's a little more enjoyable. But man, you could almost flip a coin with that one.
I'd go, I don't know if there's a right answer to that question necessarily. Speaking of golf and golfers, played yesterday with a mutual friend and colleague, Ken Van Vechten. He and I got out for a round. Ken, now based here in the Coachella Valley. And as golf writers are wont to do when playing together, you start talking about other golf writers and dudes that you know or you've been on trips with. And I think that the discussion, it's not uncommon, tilted toward, hey, who's like the best golf writer guy that you played with? And my answer was your coworker, Tim Gavrich. I think that he probably is the best. He and I were on a trip to Ireland together a few years back. I think that he's probably the best golfer that I've played with on a trip. Your own answer?
Oh, yeah, I think that's probably correct. Shane Bacon used to be a golf writer as well. And both Shane and Tim, are probably somewhere around +1, +2 scratch kind of golfers. So, Tim played in college. I don't even bother to lay down a bet when we step on the first tee together. So, it's a different level of golf. I'm about anywhere between a 9 and a 12, depending on how good or bad I play and, what my attitude is when I'm on the first tee.
You and I are in a not dissimilar mid-handicap realm. Do you ever feel, Jason, that your particular golf ability or sometimes lack thereof has had bearing on the way that you write your articles?
I actually look at it as a source of pride. I feel like I like to take the voice for the masses. When I'm reviewing a golf course, I'm thinking about the 90% of golfers that play like me. I'm not thinking about the 10% of guys that play like Tim. I'm a big proponent of playability and fun. And, I'll call out a course if I feel like the rough is too high or there's too many bunkers. I just think golf has made this incredible shift the last decade where, it's all about attracting players. It's not about repelling players. And that includes the golf ball. If you repel the golf ball, people aren't going to have fun. If you attract the golf ball and allow it to run up, be playable, not get lost in the water or the woods or the rough, the game is better off.
That tone of writing toward proletariat comes through in your work, which makes your articles so enjoyable to read. Speaking of your articles, one of the ones, perhaps a little biased, that I did recently enjoy, I think you mentioned 4 Coachella Valley courses in your awesome article on island greens. This was timed with the Players Championship, of course, in recent weeks. But you got a lot of desert stuff in there. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I was trying to be as exhaustive in terms of research as possible. I feel like too many articles today are just clickbait. Let's just get 5 key facts, take a couple hours to write it, and boom, it's done. I wanted to have the ultimate piece on island greens. I looked at the history of it. I looked at where they're located. I looked at why they exist, why architects love them, why architects hate them, what the pros think about them. So I really tried to dive into every angle. And, I got a lot of great feedback from a lot of people I respect in the industry. And that's ultimately, the biggest joy as a writer is to get the respect from your peers that, hey, this article was pretty cool.
And further respect to you, Jason. I mean, that article, I expected when I clicked on it, maybe it could be like a quick rundown. And we've both done our fair share of those where, here's a list of 10 and then you get 2 sentences per entry. But this was a thorough, as you mentioned, not just the history and the architectural element, but you talk about par 3s, par 4s, par 5s. And that was kind of my favorite part of the articles, that you didn't just kind of skimp out on it and do the par 3s, that you went for all different types of holes. And that's what also brought some of the desert element into the article. Really cool.
Yeah, again, it goes back to that playability theme we're talking about. I feel like island greens on par 4s are maybe a little bit unfair to most golfers. You hit a 220-yard drive, but you have a 180-yard shot coming in. Maybe there's wind at play. Maybe there's bad weather. I struggle with the 180-yard carry off the turf. I need a tee to help me out. So that's kind of the angle I was looking at there, is just talk a little bit about, hey, if you're an architect and you're thinking about putting an island green on a par 4, maybe make that par 4 300 yards or 320 yards. Don't don't kill the member or the regular golfer that's trying to play it every day.
Jason, as you get deeper into your duties as managing editor at Golf Pass, how do you want to put your stamp on it?
Good question, man. We're so early in it. I think we just need to continue the momentum of, the pandemic golf boom. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the game. We're starting to see some new golf courses being built and a lot of renovation and improvement projects. For example, Sand Valley, is adding 2 new courses, both with Tom Doak's footprints on them. So I just think it's a really cool time to be in the industry. For 20 years, it just felt so gloom and doom that everybody was worried about where is golf headed in this modern age. So it's nice to have this reset of values and priorities and excitement surrounding the game. So we just want to echo that through our stories and videos at Golf Pass.
One more for you today, Jason. Succeeding this chat will be, as I said, a double guest show and a great pair of guests. Louise Ritterstrom, she is going to be my boss for the week on the Epson Tour, the IOA Championship up the hill at Tuckwood Canyon at Morongo. We'll be caddying for her, doing a story on that. I did go out to the course in recent days and got a yardage book and took some notes. And I've never caddied. I kind of have for kicks before, but never in a professional event. Have you ever caddied before?
I've taught some friends that hadn't picked up a club in 20 years during the pandemic how to play golf. So I felt like I was a caddy a little bit during those rounds. So, I just tried to be patient. I tried to not say too much. You don't want to get in their head before they're hitting a shot, but you're willing to offer them some advice after they hit the shot. Obviously, your boss doesn't need advice, right? She's
not from me.
Amazing player. But yeah, I think it'll be an awesome experience. I'm jealous, actually.
Don't know if my legs are up for the test. We're going to find out. I did go out and get some new sneakers just to try to put myself in a good position to be able to walk these holes in this golf course. Any parting advice for me before I take this out?
Put like 30 golf balls in your bag and then go walk, for the next 3 days and see how you feel afterward. And then maybe that will be like a good sort of training exercise to get get yourself ready for what you're about to. Those tour bags are heavy, man.
I hope that she has a Sunday bag. I did think about that kind of cramming session, but then I considered, well, maybe my legs will be so tired from the cramming session that by the time the actual tournament comes around, that they'll just be like noodles.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Maybe the training should have happened 6 months ago, but no, you're great. You're a fit guy and you're a positive guy. And I think just positive vibes, right, is going to go a long way. Never hang your head if she plunks one in the water or, I think just any golfer that's battling a golf course, all they want are positive vibes and positive mojo.
And this golf course does have some tests, Tucker Canyon, rather, the Champions course. And to your point, in closure, I've kind of thought back to, and this goes to your part of the state. When D.A. Points, when he won at Pebble with Bill Murray as his Pro-Am partner, and they won the Pro-Am and he won the tournament, there's something to be said for that. I think that's the mentality I'm going in with. Not that I'm necessarily Bill Murray, but he was able to project that kind of positivity, that kind of lighthearted spirit. That I think that's the attitude that I'm going in with. That seems right.
Yeah, I think I've heard that small talk, keeps from worrying about the pressure of the moment. So, a little side joke here and there once in a while when it's properly timed, but just kind of go with the flow of things, and hopefully it works out.
Well, as much as I enjoy your writing, I also trust and value your opinion, not to mention your time. Thank you so much, Jason. Always a pleasure, man. When I know that the trips haven't been as regular for obvious reasons of late, But when I hear that you're on a trip and that we have an opportunity to travel and play some golf together, it's always something I really look forward to, man. So I hope that there's another one in our near future. In the interim, appreciate you joining the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and absolutely look forward to the next time we tee it up.
Friends, congratulations to Jason Deegan on his new gig as managing editor on NBC's Golf Pass. Make sure to check it out at golfpass.com. Give him a follow on Twitter at World Golfer. Talk to you soon, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jed.